I'm Meryl Streep, and I turned 60 this spring. Last year, I retired from my 35-year career as an English teacher at a New York State high school. Now, I'm dedicating my time to volunteer work with local literacy programs. Even though I've left the classroom, I still find joy in supporting people and making a difference in their lives. My only daughter, Jennifer Aniston, is 35 years old. She's thriving as an art director at a top advertising agency in Manhattan. While I'm proud of her passion and talent for her work, I sometimes worry that she tends to become too much of a workaholic. Jennifer's husband, Brad Pitt, is 37 years old. He works as a middle manager at an IT company in Silicon Valley. He has a serious and honest personality, but lately, it seems he's been under a lot of stress due to increased responsibilities from a recent promotion. And then there's our grandson, Tom Hanks, who was born this spring. His birth brought immense joy to our family. Just looking at his chubby cheeks and curious eyes warms my heart. Recently, I've noticed some changes in our family dynamics. Since Brad's promotion, he's been coming home later and working more on weekends. Jennifer has also returned to work after her maternity leave and is struggling to balance her career and childcare. Every time I see their tired faces, I can't help but worry a little. Still, during our monthly family dinners, we all enjoy our meal together, laughing and sharing stories. We celebrate Tom's growth and catch up on each other's lives. These moments are priceless treasures to me. Our family bond is strong, or at least it should be. But sometimes, unexpected challenges can arise. And our family was about to face one such trial. One Friday afternoon, I headed to Jennifer and Brad's house as usual. Taking care of my grandson on weekends had become my recent routine. Tempted by the pleasant autumn weather, I arrived a bit earlier than usual. When I opened the front door, a silence enveloped the entire house. Jennifer? Brad? There was no response to my call. As I stepped into the living room, I noticed the TV was left on. Strange. Normally, Jennifer would be attentive to such details. Feeling uneasy, I made my way to Tom's room. The moment I opened the door, my heart nearly stopped. Tom! Tom's face, lying in his crib, was pale. His little chest was barely moving. Panicked, I picked him up. His body was cold. Tom, open your eyes. It's Grandma. No matter how I shook him or gently patted his cheeks, Tom didn't respond. Desperately trying to suppress my rising panic, I returned to the living room. There, I noticed Brad and Jennifer sitting on the sofa, both staring at their smartphones. It's terrible. Tom is unconscious. My scream finally made them look up. However, their expressions showed no surprise or concern. Dad, what happened? Jennifer's voice lacked its usual warmth. I just quieted him down because he was noisy, Brad answered matter-of-factly. What? I was speechless at these unbelievable words. Mom, it's okay. He'll be fine if we leave him alone, Jennifer said with a smile. At that moment, anger and fear coursed through my entire body. How could Jennifer, my own child, be so callous? And Brad, why was he so indifferent when his grandson's life was in danger? Are you two out of your minds? My voice trembled. Tom is in a dangerous state. Their attitudes confused me even more. Jennifer shrugged, and Brad turned his attention back to his smartphone. For a moment, I almost lost my sense of reality in this bizarre situation. But the cold body of Tom in my arms brought me back to reality. There was no time to hesitate. I quickly grabbed my own smartphone and dialed 911. It's an emergency. A 3-month-old baby is unconscious. He's barely breathing. While answering the operator's questions, I explained the address and situation. All the while, Jennifer and Brad continued to feign indifference. An ambulance is on its way. Until it arrives, please keep the baby warm and monitor his condition, the operator instructed. Following the instructions, I wrapped Tom in a blanket. During all this, my daughter and son-in-law made no move to help. Jennifer, Brad, what's going on? Why did you leave Tom like this? Even when I questioned them, I received no proper response. In this abnormal situation, my head was filled with confusion and questions. Why were they behaving this way? What had happened to Tom? And what on earth was happening to our family? As the sound of the approaching ambulance siren grew louder, I held my grandson close and headed towards the front door, tormented by unanswerable questions. Amidst the wailing sirens of the ambulance, I held Tom in my arms and headed to the hospital, desperately praying. Jennifer and Brad said they would come later by car, but even those words felt off. Upon arriving at the Mayo Clinic emergency room, the medical team immediately sprang into action. 3-month-old male, unconscious, difficulty breathing, the doctor's voices echoed. Tom was rushed to the treatment room, and I was left to spend anxious hours in the waiting area. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, Jennifer and Brad arrived, but their expressions lacked the gravity of the situation. Mom, you're overreacting. He'll be fine soon, Jennifer said. That's right, kids are resilient, Brad added. Their attitude made my anger rise, but Tom was the priority now. About an hour later, the attending physician appeared. Family members, we have the test results, the doctor said, his expression grave. My heart raced. Your child is showing symptoms of nicotine poisoning. The nicotine concentration in his blood has reached dangerous levels. I gasped at those words. Nicotine. But we don't smoke at home, Jennifer said, looking confused. The doctor continued, it's not from regular cigarettes, but there's a high possibility he ingested liquid from an electronic cigarette. Do you have any e-cigarettes at home? After a moment of silence, Brad said in a small voice, oh, it might be mine. At that moment, the atmosphere in the room froze. Jennifer looked at Brad accusingly. What do you mean? I couldn't contain my anger and raised my voice. Brad started making excuses. Recently, due to work stress, but I thought I always kept it safely stored away. What's going to happen to Tom? Jennifer asked the doctor. Fortunately, it was detected early. We'll perform a lavage treatment and monitor his condition. The next 24 hours will be critical." A sigh of relief escaped, but it was short-lived. "Why didn't you notice something was wrong with Tom?" I confronted my daughter and son-in-law. Jennifer answered, "We've been so tired lately. Tom wouldn't stop crying, so we thought we'd let him rest a bit." Rest? In that condition? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Brad interjected, "We messed up. But everyone makes mistakes, right?" His words nearly made my anger explode. But this was a hospital. I took a deep breath to regain my composure. "You too, tell me the truth," I said quietly but firmly. After a long silence, Brad began to speak. "Actually, I've become dependent on e-cigarettes. I started because of work stress, and I can't quit." Jennifer looked surprised. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I couldn't. You seemed so stressed with work." As I listened, the severity of the situation became clear. Brad's secret addiction, Jennifer's work pressure, and the stress of parenting for both of them. All these factors had culminated in this incident. "But still, you should have noticed something was wrong with Tom," I said sternly. "This is a matter of life and death." Jennifer and Brad hung their heads. Guilt was evident on their faces. "What are you going to do now?" I asked. "We'll seek professional counseling," Brad answered. "I'll relearn about childcare too," Jennifer added. Those words gave me some relief, but questions remained. Why had they been so indifferent? Were they truly remorseful? And would Tom recover safely? As I returned to the hospital room and watched Tom sleeping with a small ventilator, I steeled my resolve. To protect my grandson and my family, I needed to become stronger. And I had to uncover all the hidden truths. This was just the beginning. Our family's trial was far from over. 3 days after Tom's hospitalization, an unfamiliar woman appeared in the hospital room. "Are you Meryl Streep?" "I'm Sarah Johnson from Child Protective Services." Those words made my heart skip a beat. CPS intervention. It made me realize once again the gravity of the situation. "Could you please tell me more about Tom's situation?" I told her all the facts I knew. The accidental ingestion of e-cigarette liquid, Jennifer and Brad's inappropriate response. Sarah listened intently, occasionally taking notes. "I'd like to arrange a family meeting," she said. That evening, the family was gathered in a conference room at the hospital. Jennifer, Brad, and Betty, Brad's mother, who had suddenly appeared. The room was filled with tension. Sarah began, "Let's discuss how this situation came about and what steps we'll take moving forward." First, Brad started explaining about the e-cigarette incident. "Due to work stress." "Stop making excuses." Betty's voice suddenly rang out. "You're a grown man. Take responsibility for your actions." Brad's shoulders slumped. "Mom." Disappointment clouded Betty's eyes. "I don't remember raising a son like this." Jennifer intervened, "But I'm responsible too. I should have noticed Tom's condition." Both of you lack awareness as parents, I said sternly. Suddenly, Jennifer stood up. Mom, you don't understand how hard it is to balance work and childcare. Those words froze the atmosphere in the room. What did you say? I said, my voice trembling. Jennifer began to speak, tears in her eyes. I didn't want to give up my career. But I felt I had to be perfect in taking care of Tom too. Gradually, hidden truths came to light. Jennifer's attachment to her career and the stress of childcare. Brad's addiction and work pressure. Both of them had turned a blind eye to their own problems, ultimately putting their beloved child in danger. Sarah calmly stated, under these circumstances, we must consider temporarily placing Tom in a different environment for his care. At those words, Jennifer and Brad's faces turned pale. No, that can't. Jennifer choked out. Then both of you need to change seriously, Betty said sternly. The meeting continued for nearly 3 hours. There were intense arguments, tears, and apologies. Finally, Sarah concluded. The parents will be required to improve their parenting skills and undergo counseling. In the meantime, we need to decide on a temporary caregiver for Tom. All eyes turned to me. A week after the CPS intervention, I found myself sitting in a lawyer's office. Mrs. Streep, here are the documents for applying for temporary custody, said John Smith, the lawyer, as he handed me the papers. I took a deep breath and picked up the pen. Is this really the right thing to do? I wondered aloud. Your grandson's safety comes first. This isn't a permanent measure, John said gently. As I finished signing, I felt a strange mix of relief and the weight of responsibility. As a next step, I recommend joining a support group for grandparents raising grandchildren, John suggested. That evening, I attended the support group held at the community center. As I entered the room, I saw grandparents of various ages sitting in a circle. Welcome to our new member, Martha, the facilitator, said with a smile. After introducing myself, I hesitantly began to share my situation. When I finished, I received unexpected responses. You're not alone, a woman in her 70s said kindly. We've all had similar experiences, another participant nodded. Those words touched me deeply. The reassurance that I wasn't alone. But at the same time, I felt the depth of the social issues we were facing. As I was leaving the group, Martha approached me. Support networks are also expanding on social media. Why don't you join this Facebook group? When I got home and joined the recommended group, I saw numerous posts. Experiences and words of encouragement from grandparents in similar situations. I gathered my courage and posted about my own situation. To my surprise, there were many reactions. I applaud your courage. Let me know if you need any specific support. I'll send you a list of local resources. The comments section also included unexpected offers of support. My church holds meetings for grandparents raising children. Please come join us. There's a free parenting course at the YMCA. You can attend with your grandchild. A few days later, when I visited the local church, I was warmly welcomed. The pastor offered spiritual support. Feel free to come for counseling anytime. I believe in the power of prayer. I also attended the course at the YMCA. There, I met Sandy, who was in a similar situation. Let's do our best together, Sandy said. It's important to take breaks too. How about we have tea next week? As the circle of support gradually expanded, I slowly regained my confidence. Taking care of Tom, legal procedures, supporting Jennifer and Brad. It's impossible to handle everything perfectly. But I don't need to shoulder it all alone. One day, while taking Tom to the park, a stranger approached me as I sat on a bench. "What a lovely grandson you have," she said. "Thank you," I smiled. "It looks tough, but hang in there." Those words unexpectedly brought tears to my eyes. To receive understanding and encouragement even from strangers. It warmed my heart. Back home, watching Tom sleep, I renewed my determination. For this child's future, and to restore our family bonds, there are things I can do. To watch over with love, and to lend a hand when needed. And to believe in and wait for Jennifer and Brad's growth. Surely, they will be able to fulfill their responsibilities as parents. Until that day comes, I will protect and guide Tom. That is my role as a grandmother. About a month after I took in Tom, an unexpected visitor knocked on my door. When I opened it, I saw a face I hadn't seen in 15 years. Robert. My ex-husband, Robert, was standing there. His aged face showed signs of concern. "Meryl, I heard about what happened. I wondered if there was anything I could do to help." At first, I was confused, but I invited him in. While brewing coffee, I explained the situation so far. "It must have been tough," Robert said. "Would it be all right if I met Jennifer and Brad?" The next day, the whole family gathered. Jennifer looked at her father with a confused expression. "Why now?" Robert began to speak quietly. "I'm worried about you all. I want to hear the truth about what happened." After a long silence, Brad opened up. I couldn't handle the pressure at work. I started relying on e-cigarettes. "That's not all, is it?" Robert gently probed. Jennifer continued, tears in her eyes. We haven't been getting along lately. We've been fighting a lot, trying to balance work and childcare." Gradually, the crisis in their marriage became clear. Work stress, lack of communication, and frustrations with each other. Then, Betty spoke up hesitantly. "Actually, there's something I need to talk about regarding Brad's childhood." Everyone's attention turned to Betty. When Brad was 5, his father, my ex-husband, was an alcoholic. He would sometimes be violent towards me in front of Brad. Brad's face turned pale. "Mom, I don't remember." "It's in your subconscious, dear. That's why you're vulnerable to stress." The room fell silent after this shocking revelation. Robert said quietly, "We can't change the past, but we can decide how to move forward from here." Those words triggered an outpouring of honest feelings from the family. Jennifer's attachment to work hiding her desire for self-realization. The childhood trauma behind Brad's addiction. And the crisis in their marriage. The discussion continued late into the night. There were tears, anger, and reconciliation during this intense time. Finally, Robert said, "Now, this is the real beginning. Let's work together to overcome this crisis." That night, I fell asleep with a sense of peace I hadn't felt in a long time. Although problems still remained, I felt that taking the courage to face the truth and confront it was a big step forward. A week after the family meeting, Brad started participating in a local addiction recovery program. At first, he seemed reluctant, but gradually he began to engage more actively. "How was today's session?" I asked, and Brad answered with a slightly embarrassed look. To be honest, I was skeptical at first, but hearing stories from people with similar experiences made me realize I'm not alone. Those words made me breathe a sigh of relief. I could sense Brad's attitude changing, his willingness to improve. Meanwhile, Jennifer had also taken a big step. She had mustered the courage to see an obstetrician. "I've been diagnosed with postpartum depression," Jennifer quietly announced. "But there are treatment options. I'll be starting counseling and mild medication therapy." I hugged Jennifer. "You were so brave to do that. We'll get through this together." In addition to their individual care, Jennifer and Brad also started attending family counseling sessions as a couple. The first few sessions were awkward, but as they continued, I could feel the walls between them slowly crumbling. After one session, Brad took Jennifer's hand, looked into her eyes, and said, "I'm really sorry for hurting you and Tom. From now on, I'll face our problems head on." Tears welled up in Jennifer's eyes. "I'm reflecting on my actions too. Let's work hard together." Watching this scene, I felt a warmth in my chest. We still have a long way to go, but we're definitely moving forward. Amidst all this, an unexpected development occurred. Robert started visiting the family frequently. "Meryl, can we talk for a bit?" Robert asked me one day. We went out to the garden, and Robert began to speak with a serious expression. "After our divorce, I realized my shortcomings. I'm grateful for this opportunity to face my family again." I felt conflicted. "Robert, if it's all right with you, could we take another look at our relationship?" Those words made me hesitate. However, I felt my heart stirring at Robert's sincere attitude he had shown over the past month. "Give me some time. Let me think about it." Robert smiled gently. "Of course. There's no need to rush." As time passed, changes began to appear in the whole family. Brad's eyes became gentler, and Jennifer's smiles increased. Even Tom seemed to become more lively, probably due to spending more time with his parents. One weekend, we all went on a picnic. On the park's grass, Jennifer was laughing while holding Tom. Brad threw a frisbee, and Robert caught it. As I watched this scene, I felt a warmth welling up inside me. "Meryl, let's take a picture together," Jennifer called out. The whole family huddled together, smiling at the camera. At that moment, I thought, this is the family I had hoped for. It's not perfect yet. There will still be challenges ahead. But everyone is making an effort and supporting each other. And most importantly, there's a feeling of caring for one another. That night, as I was putting Tom to bed, I quietly made a vow to make this family bond stronger and deeper, and to raise Tom in a family filled with love. This is not an ending, but a new beginning. Our family's true story of rebirth starts here. On the day of the final hearing in family court, amidst a tense atmosphere, the judge delivered the decision. In this case, I determined that joint custody is the best option. Meryl Streep will be the primary caregiver, with Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt gradually increasing their involvement in parenting. At those words, the whole family's expressions relaxed. This marked the end of one chapter in our legal issues. After leaving the courthouse, the family gathered in a small park. Jennifer, holding Tom, smiled brightly. "Mom, thank you. We're going to do things right from now on." Brad nodded with a serious expression. "We're going to grow as parents. For Tom's sake too." Those words made my chest tighten with emotion. After days of hardship, it felt like our family had finally come together. Tom's growth was remarkable. 6 months after the incident, he was crawling energetically and could say "Mama" and "Papa." Regular checkups with the doctor confirmed that there were no concerns about lasting effects. One evening, as we were having dinner as a family, Tom suddenly said "Baba." He was calling for me. Tears welled up in my eyes. "Oh, Tom, yes, it's Grandma." Jennifer and Brad also had touched expressions. In that moment, we understood each other without words. A new family dynamic had formed, centered around this child. However, my mission wasn't over. I wanted to use this experience to help others who were struggling in similar situations. I rented a room at the community center and started a parenting support group called Grandparents Bridge. More participants than expected showed up for the first meeting. "Everyone, please don't try to handle everything alone. Here, let's share our experiences and support each other." I could see hope lighting up in the participants' eyes. When I got home, Robert was playing with Tom in the living room. He too was gradually being accepted as part of the family. "How did it go?" Robert asked. "It was wonderful. It seems there's still so much we can do." Tom reached out to us with both hands. As I picked him up, his innocent smile filled me with happiness. Our family's story of rebirth, after many trials, has finally entered a new chapter. And it has become a story that gives hope not just to us, but to others in similar situations. There will still be challenges ahead. But with love, understanding, and mutual support, we can overcome any difficulty. Believing this, we take a new step forward. Believing in a happy future for Tom, and for